I went to see my girlfriend, but her mom opened the door and said, "We need to talk." The city floated above the clouds like a crystal palace, gleaming in sunlight that refracted through its many glass towers. He paused for a moment, taking it all in, letting the wind from the anti-gravity turbines brush against his hair. The sky looked endless, painted in shades of pink and gold. Somewhere below, he knew, Earth's forests and oceans stretched on, but up here it felt like he was walking in a different world entirely. He checked the small holographic device in his hand. Arrival, 3 minutes. Gate C12. He smiled. 3 minutes wasn't long, but it felt like a lifetime. Today wasn't just any day. Today he was going to see Mara. He had spent weeks planning this visit, making sure he brought the little things she liked. Her favorite solar tea capsules, a sketchbook he had filled with doodles of the floating city, and a tiny model of the robotic bird they had once rescued together from the Habitat Gardens. Mara, just saying her name in his mind made his heart skip. She wasn't like other people he had met in the city. She had a curiosity about the world that made him feel alive. And her laugh, oh, her laugh, was like wind chimes on a summer morning. He could hear it in his head now as he walked, and it made him grin. But along with the excitement, there was a flutter of nervousness in his chest. Mara's family was, well, they were important. Not in the usual way, but in the way that made his palms sweat. Her mother, Dr. Saren, was a high-ranking scientist working on interstellar diplomacy. Her father had helped design the skyport's energy grids. Meeting them before, even briefly, had been intimidating. He wasn't sure if today would be easy or difficult, but he knew he had to try. Eli finally reached Gate C12, a sleek silver structure that hummed softly as it adjusted for the incoming traffic. He pressed the access panel and waited as it recognized his passcode. A soft chime sounded. The door slid open with a whisper, and he stepped into the corridor. Immediately, the usual hum of the city faded behind him, replaced by the warm, welcoming scent of the apartment above. He hesitated at the door to Mara's flat. His heart raced. He took a deep breath, straightened his shirt, and raised his hand to knock. But before he could, the door opened. It was Mara who greeted him. It was her mother. Dr. Saren stood there, her expression unreadable. Her dark eyes were sharp, and her posture was so straight it seemed as if the air itself bent to her will. "Eli," she said calmly, her voice soft but firm. "We need to talk." Eli froze. His mind spun in 1,000 directions. "Talk? What do you mean, talk? Is something wrong?" He wanted to speak, to say something reassuring, but his throat suddenly felt dry. Okay," he said finally, forcing a nervous smile. Dr. Saren stepped aside, gesturing for him to enter. "Please, sit." The apartment was brighter than he remembered, filled with sunlight streaming through massive windows. Bookshelves lined the walls, stacked with texts on quantum physics, interstellar law, and alien linguistics. A few holographic displays floated in midair, showing simulations of distant star systems and rotating planets. It was the kind of place that made Eli feel small, like a single spark in a vast, intelligent universe. He sat in the chair Dr. Saren offered, trying to calm himself. She didn't sit. Instead, she remained standing, arms crossed, eyes fixed on him with that same intense gaze. "Eli," she said slowly, "I want to talk to you about something important, about humanity." Eli blinked. "Humanity? What does that mean? Is this about me? About Mara?" Dr. Saren's face softened slightly. "I mean the humans, Eli, you and Mara's generation. The one that's going to represent Earth soon." Eli's confusion deepened. "Represent Earth? Yes." Her tone was steady, almost clinical, but there was a hint of warmth beneath it. "We've had a situation. A species from the Andara sector has been observing us. They are advanced, highly intelligent, and very particular about the order of things. They have noticed our orbital habitats and our activities, and now they want to make sure that humans are ready to be trusted." Eli's mind raced. He had heard about these alien species in passing, in news feeds and the occasional government report. Most humans never saw them directly, and even fewer communicated with them. But the idea that Mara's mother, the woman standing in front of him, was now deeply involved, it made his stomach tighten. So, Eli began cautiously. "This has something to do with me." Dr. Sarin allowed herself a small smile. "Yes, in a way, we need people like you, Eli. People who can think creatively, adapt to new challenges, and show the best of humanity. You've always impressed Mara with your ideas. That's why I invited you here. Not just to see her, but to help her and all of us show the aliens who we are." Eli's mouth went dry. "Me? I don't know if I'm the right person." "You are," Dr. Sarin said firmly. "Sometimes humans underestimate themselves, but we have to show them we can cooperate, we can create, we can think beyond simple survival. Violence isn't the answer. Ingenuity, empathy, and adaptability, that's what will define us." Eli took a deep breath, letting her words sink in. He had always prided himself on his problem-solving skills, on his ability to improvise in strange situations. But this was bigger than anything he had ever faced, and yet a small spark of excitement flickered in his chest. "This is what I've been waiting for, a chance to do something meaningful." Dr. Sarin finally gestured for him to stand. "I want you to meet Mara. She's been working on some experiments too. You'll need to collaborate. It won't be easy, but I believe you can do it." The door at the far end of the room slid open, and Mara appeared. Her hair floated slightly in the anti-gravity field, and her eyes lit up when she saw Eli. She ran toward him, wrapping her arms around him in a quick hug. "Eli," she said, her voice bright, "I didn't expect you to arrive this early." I wanted to see you," he admitted. She laughed softly, then glanced at her mother, who was still standing nearby. "Mom's serious today, but it's okay. You're going to like what we're doing." Eli glanced between them, feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement. Mara's mother approached, her eyes softening for the first time. "The first step is simple," she said. "Observe, understand, and then create. Show the aliens who we really are. They will judge us not by what we say, but by what we do." Eli swallowed hard. "And what exactly are we doing?" Dr. Sarin smiled faintly. "You'll see. But remember this, humans have one advantage that no other species has: curiosity, creativity, and the ability to think in ways no one else expects. That's what will save us, Eli. And right now, the galaxy is watching." Mara took his hand, squeezing it reassuringly. "We'll figure it out together," she said, "just like we always do." Eli nodded, feeling a strange mixture of fear and exhilaration. For a moment, he looked out at the floating city, the vastness of space stretching beyond it, and realized that his world had just grown infinitely bigger. It wasn't just about seeing Mara anymore. It was about showing the universe what humans could do. And somehow, deep inside, Eli felt that he was ready. Dr. Sarin stepped back, letting him and Mara move closer to the workstations filled with holographic screens, floating models of orbital habitats, and simulations of alien starships. Eli felt a thrill as he realized the adventure wasn't going to be easy, but it was going to be extraordinary. And it had just begun. The hum of the apartment's anti-gravity system filled the space as Eli and Mara moved toward a large holographic table in the center of the room. The table floated midair, projecting a three-dimensional map of the solar system. Tiny dots glimmered: Earth, its orbiting habitats, and then, farther out, the strange patterns of ships and satellites that Eli had never seen before. Dr. Sarin gestured to the map. "These," she said, "are the observers, the Andara species. They've been watching humanity for some time. They value intelligence, order, and precision, but they also respect creativity. Unfortunately, humans are unpredictable." Eli squinted at the glowing dots. "Unpredictable? You mean in a bad way?" "Sometimes," Dr. Sarin admitted. "We have to prove that unpredictability can be controlled and channeled into ingenuity. They want to see that humans are more than impulsive beings, that we can cooperate, innovate, and follow complex instructions without causing chaos. Mara leaned over the holographic table, tapping on a blinking dot that represented one of the Andara observation ships. They're close enough to scan our habitats, but not close enough to interfere directly. They're cautious, but curious. They've sent communication signals, but nothing direct. It's like they're testing our patience as much as our skills. Eli rubbed his temples. So, what exactly do they expect us to do? Dr. Saren's expression grew serious. They will challenge us, not with weapons, not with force, with puzzles, coordination tests, and problem-solving tasks. They want to see how we think, how we interact, and how adaptable we are. This is not a threat. They want to evaluate, not destroy. But if we fail, we risk losing their trust, and trust is vital. The Andara species have the power to influence human expansion beyond Earth. If we can't prove ourselves, we could be limited, sidelined, or monitored indefinitely. Eli felt a cold weight in his chest. It wasn't a threat of immediate danger, but the stakes were enormous. And yet, he also felt a spark. This is bigger than any school project, bigger than any engineering challenge. This is a chance to show what humans can do. Mara smiled at him. We're not alone, Eli. I've been working on some designs for orbital displays, patterns, and drones that can move in perfect synchronization. We can show the Andara what humans are capable of. Eli nodded slowly. Okay, so creativity and coordination, that I can handle, but how do we start? Dr. Saren guided them to a set of workstations along the far wall. Each station projected simulations and holograms that reacted to touch. Floating drones hovered in readiness, waiting for their programming. Step 1, she said, is observation. Study the Andara, understand their methods, and anticipate what they might value. Step 2 is experimentation. You'll have limited resources and you must use them wisely. Step 3 is execution. Show them humans are capable of more than raw strength or speed. Show them intelligence, creativity, and cooperation. Eli's mind raced as he approached a workstation. He swiped through holographic images, scanning patterns of Andara ships and their calculated movements. Each dot on the projection pulsed with a rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. He realized that these weren't just ships, they were carefully programmed machines designed to observe and analyze. They're like artists, he said, surprised. They study everything in patterns, every movement, every light, every signal. And they respond to order, but also to innovation. Mara nodded enthusiastically. Exactly. They value structure, but they respect creativity. They're not rigid like robots. They have rules, but they reward ingenuity. That's why our displays have to be perfect, but also surprising. We can't just follow instructions. We have to think beyond them. Eli took a deep breath. So, we need to make something they've never seen before, but still orderly. It's like combining art and science at the same time. Dr. Saren smiled faintly. Precisely. Humans have always had that advantage. We can improvise, adapt, and combine logic with imagination. That's what other species often lack. And if we succeed, we don't just prove our worth, we inspire confidence. That's what the Andara need to see. For the next hour, Eli and Mara worked side by side, sketching plans, programming drones, and testing floating light displays. Eli realized how much he enjoyed this process. It wasn't about impressing anyone personally. It was about creating something meaningful, something that could represent the entire species. His mind buzzed with ideas, drones moving in patterns that resembled a human heartbeat, lights forming shapes inspired by Earth's forests and oceans, sequences that responded to each other dynamically. Mara watched him with admiration. You have a talent for this, she said quietly. I mean, for thinking in ways I never even imagined. Eli laughed softly. I think we all have potential. We just need a reason to push ourselves. Dr. Saren observed from across the room, her expression unreadable. "And now," she said after a pause, "we face the real challenge. The Andara will soon test us. They won't come here directly. They'll send a communication sequence, a puzzle designed to evaluate our teamwork, logic, and adaptability. This is your chance, Eli, Mara. Show them what humans can do." Eli's heart raced as he realized the enormity of the moment. This wasn't a simple experiment or a friendly demonstration. The Andara were the future of humanity's place in the galaxy, and their judgment would be based entirely on how he and Mara handled the challenge. The first signal arrived shortly after noon. A soft hum filled the room, and the holographic table flickered, projecting a glowing pattern of interlocking shapes and lights. Eli leaned closer, examining the display. "It's beautiful," he murmured, "but also complex. It looks like a puzzle." Mara's eyes sparkled. "It is a puzzle, but it's more than that. It's a test of coordination. We have to move the drones to match the sequence while creating something new at the same time. We need to maintain the structure but add our own patterns." Eli nodded. "Okay, let's do it." For the next several hours they experimented. The drones moved in careful arcs, reflecting light in dazzling patterns. Eli suggested subtle adjustments, combining shapes into spirals that mimicked the galaxy. Mara added small, synchronized movements that resembled waves, as if the drones were swimming through the stars. At first, some of the drones collided, or the lights didn't sync correctly. But Eli and Mara adapted. They recalculated, refined the programming, and experimented with new formations. Slowly the display began to take shape, complex, elegant, and unpredictable in a way that only humans could manage. Dr. Saren watched quietly, occasionally nodding or adjusting a few parameters. "Good," she said softly. "Remember, they are watching our approach, not just the result. How you think, how you adapt, how you collaborate, that's what counts." Eli felt a thrill he had never experienced before. He realized this was exactly what he loved about problem solving. It wasn't just about finding the right answer. It was about creativity under pressure, learning from mistakes, and pushing beyond what anyone thought was possible. And now, the stakes were higher than ever. Finally, after hours of adjustments, they completed a sequence that seemed to pulse with life. The drones moved in perfect harmony, forming spirals and waves that intertwined like the patterns of human DNA. Lights danced, shifted, and shimmered in ways that felt alive. Eli and Mara stepped back, exhausted but exhilarated. "Do you think it's enough?" Mara asked, her voice trembling slightly. Dr. Saren smiled, a rare softness in her eyes. "It is more than enough. You've done exactly what humans do best. You've combined logic with creativity, structure with imagination. The Andara will notice, and more importantly, they will respect us." Eli felt a surge of pride, not pride for himself but for humanity. The realization struck him deeply. Humans were clever, adaptable, and full of potential. They could face challenges that no one else could, and even if the Andara judged them strictly, they would see that humanity had something unique, something worth trusting. As the sun set over the floating city, painting the sky in pink and gold, Eli and Mara sat quietly, watching the holographic display slowly fade. Eli reached for Mara's hand. "We did it," he said softly. "Yes," she replied, smiling. "We really did. And this is just the beginning." Dr. Saren looked on from the doorway. "Remember this feeling," she said. "The galaxy will challenge you, but humanity's strength isn't in weapons or power. It's in the mind, the heart, and the ability to create where others see only limits. Never forget that, Eli. Never forget that humans can rise above any test." Eli nodded, feeling a strange mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. For the first time, he truly understood what his mother-in-law meant. Humanity's future wasn't guaranteed, but it was full of possibilities, waiting for people willing to think, to adapt, and to act. And he was ready to be one of them. The adventure was far from over, but Eli knew one thing for sure. Humans had something the Andara couldn't ignore: ingenuity, creativity, and heart. And with Mara by his side, he was ready to face whatever came next. Eli and Mara returned to the holographic lab the next morning, their minds buzzing with anticipation. The soft hum of the anti-gravity system greeted them like an old friend, and the floating drones hovered silently above the workstation. Today, Dr. Saren said, they would begin the next stage of the Andara Challenge, a direct test of creativity and cooperation. "This is it," Mara said, her eyes sparkling. "We've prepared well, but the real test starts now." Eli nodded. "I know, and somehow I feel more excited than nervous." Dr. Saren joined them, her face calm but serious. "The Andara communication has been received. They are impressed with your previous sequence, but they need more. They will present a dynamic challenge, a puzzle that will require continuous adaptation. Observe, adjust, and innovate. This is where human ingenuity will shine." The holographic table flickered to life, projecting a three-dimensional labyrinth of shifting lights and shapes. Eli leaned closer, eyes wide. The labyrinth wasn't a static puzzle. It moved and changed in real time. Paths twisted, shapes rotated, and glowing barriers appeared and disappeared. The pattern pulsed like a living organism, challenging them to understand its rules and anticipate its shifts. Mara whispered, "It's beautiful, but it's complicated. We need a strategy." Eli studied the labyrinth carefully. "We need to break it down. First, identify the patterns that repeat. Then, find points where we can introduce new sequences without breaking the flow. And finally, we need to coordinate the drones to react instantly to every change." Mara smiled. "You always make it sound so simple." Eli grinned. "Simple in theory, but let's see how theory works in practice." They activated the drones. Each one responded to gestures and voice commands, hovering above the table like tiny stars. The labyrinth projected its first shift, a series of glowing barriers forming a spiral. Eli quickly directed a few drones to trace the spiral edges, their lights forming complementary arcs. Mara adjusted the angles of other drones, creating arcs that intertwined with Eli's sequence. The result was a harmonious pattern, moving in rhythm with the shifting labyrinth. "Perfect," Mara said, clapping her hands softly. "They'll notice the synchronization." The labyrinth responded, pulsing brighter, almost as if acknowledging their success. Then, suddenly, the paths twisted more rapidly. Barriers appeared in unpredictable places, forcing Eli and Mara to adapt on the fly. The drones darted and glided, following subtle commands, forming new shapes to maintain harmony with the shifting maze. "This is incredible," Eli murmured. "It's like the labyrinth is alive, testing our ability to improvise." Hours passed, but Eli and Mara didn't notice. They worked in perfect coordination, speaking in short, precise bursts. "Adjust the left arc. Rotate the upper drones clockwise. Merge the central cluster." Now, their instructions flowed seamlessly, and the drones responded instantly, creating a visual symphony of lights and movement. Every shift of the labyrinth became an opportunity to showcase human creativity. Dr. Saren watched quietly from the doorway, her face unreadable. After a while, she said, "Notice how you are thinking beyond the puzzle. You are not just reacting, you are adding elegance, beauty, and flexibility. This is what humans do best. You see possibilities where others see limits." Eli paused for a moment, letting her words sink in. "So it's not just about solving the puzzle," he said. "It's about showing the Andara that humans can create, not just follow." "Exactly," Dr. Saren replied. "They value adaptability, but they also value innovation. That is the true strength of humanity." "You're demonstrating it perfectly." The challenge continued to evolve. The labyrinth introduced floating nodes that emitted pulses of light. If the drones touched them in a precise sequence, the pulses would sync with the main structure, creating a larger, more complex pattern. Eli and Mara quickly realized this was an opportunity. By connecting the nodes in unexpected sequences, they could create patterns that were not only functional but beautiful, patterns the Andara had likely never seen before. Eli directed the drones toward the nodes, forming spirals that expanded outward from the center. Mara adjusted angles, creating waves that intertwined with the spirals. The labyrinth responded, its glow intensifying as if impressed by the human creativity. Every new sequence brought a fresh challenge, but Eli and Mara adapted quickly, anticipating the shifts and finding opportunities to innovate. Hours turned into evening, but the work did not stop. Eli noticed a subtle change in the labyrinth. It began to test not just their coordination but their problem-solving under pressure. Some paths closed abruptly, forcing drones to reroute. Nodes blinked unpredictably, requiring fast thinking. Eli and Mara relied on intuition and experience, adjusting formations in real time. At one point, a cluster of drones collided midair, lights flickering. Eli's heart skipped a beat. Quick, reprogram the central drones to rotate in opposite directions. Merge them into the next spiral. Mara acted instantly, her fingers dancing over the holographic controls. The drones separated smoothly, then rejoined the pattern seamlessly. The labyrinth pulsed, brighter than before, almost like applause. Eli laughed softly. "That was amazing. Did you see how fast we adapted?" Mara smiled, her eyes shining. "I've never felt anything like this. It's like the labyrinth is alive and we're dancing with it." Dr. Saren nodded approvingly. "And that is exactly what the Andara want to see. Humanity is not perfect, but your ability to observe, adapt, and create under pressure is extraordinary. That is the essence of what they respect." By late evening, the labyrinth began to stabilize. Eli and Mara had synchronized the drones, integrated the nodes, and created a flowing pattern that shifted and pulsed with elegance. The light display was mesmerizing, a dance of spirals, waves, and arcs that seemed alive. The labyrinth had challenged them at every step, but they had responded with ingenuity and collaboration. Eli stepped back, wiping sweat from his forehead. "We did it. I think we really did it." Mara nodded, exhausted but exhilarated. "Yes. And it wasn't just about solving the labyrinth. We showed creativity, flexibility, and teamwork. That's what matters." Dr. Saren entered the room, her expression finally breaking into a warm smile. "Exactly. You have shown humanity at its best. Not by brute force, not by speed, but by ingenuity, imagination, and cooperation. That is what the Andara will remember." Eli felt a swell of pride, not pride in himself, but in the human spirit. For the first time, he understood what it meant to represent humanity. They weren't just solving a puzzle. They were showing that humans could rise to challenges that no one else could, not with violence or power, but with creativity, intelligence, and heart. Mara reached for his hand. "We did it together," she said softly. Eli squeezed her hand. "Yes, and somehow, I feel like this is just the beginning." Dr. Saren looked toward the window at the glowing city outside. "It is just the beginning, Eli. The Andara will continue to observe. They will test humanity in ways we cannot yet imagine. But remember this, we have something no other species has: curiosity, creativity, the ability to think in ways no one expects. That is our greatest strength." Eli nodded, feeling a deep sense of purpose. He realized that the labyrinth was not just a test of skill, it was a test of character. Humanity had passed, not because they were perfect, but because they had shown ingenuity, courage, and collaboration. As the night settled over the floating city, Eli and Mara sat together, watching the drones rest quietly in their charging stations. The holographic labyrinth slowly dimmed, leaving behind a soft glow that seemed to linger in the room. Eli felt a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. For the first time, he truly understood that humans had something extraordinary to offer, not just to each other but to the universe. Dr. Saren's voice broke the silence. Get some rest. Tomorrow, the next phase begins. And it will be even more challenging. Eli smiled, a spark of excitement in his eyes. I'm ready. Whatever it is, I know we can handle it. Mara leaned against him, smiling. Together, we can do anything. And Eli believed her. Humanity had just taken its first step into a larger universe, and he felt proud, not just of himself, but of the species he belonged to. The Andara would see what humans were capable of. And when they did, they would know. Ingenuity, creativity, and heart were the greatest weapons of all. The morning sun filtered through the floating city's windows, painting the room with a soft golden light. Eli stretched, rubbing the sleep from his eyes, and glanced at Mara, who was already adjusting the drones for the day's challenge. Her hair floated slightly in the anti-gravity field, her eyes bright with determination. "Ready?" she asked, smiling. Eli nodded, taking a deep breath. "As ready as I'll ever be. What's waiting for us today?" Dr. Saren entered the room, her expression serious but encouraging. "The Andara have sent the next phase. It will test your ability to solve complex problems under pressure. The previous sequence showed your creativity and adaptability. Today, you will need to coordinate, think quickly, and respond to unforeseen challenges. It will not be simple." Eli felt a thrill of anticipation. Unforeseen challenges sounds exciting. Dr. Saren nodded. "It will be, but remember, patience, observation, and creativity are key. Humans excel at seeing possibilities that others cannot. That is your strength." The holographic table flickered to life, projecting a complex simulation. A network of floating nodes, barriers, and shifting paths, far more intricate than yesterday's labyrinth. Some nodes emitted light, others pulsed rhythmically. The paths changed unexpectedly, forcing anyone observing to anticipate movements and adapt instantly. Eli's eyes widened. "Wow, this is huge. It's like a three-dimensional puzzle, but alive." Mara leaned closer, analyzing the display. "And it's interactive. Each drone we control can influence the network. Every sequence we create affects the next. We have to think ahead, not just react." Dr. Saren observed silently. "The Andara are testing foresight, collaboration, and creative problem-solving. They are not interested in speed alone. They want to see if humans can plan, adjust, and innovate under pressure. You will need to work as one mind." Eli felt a surge of determination. "Then let's get to it together." They activated the drones. They hovered in midair, lights blinking softly. Eli and Mara directed them carefully, guiding them through the shifting network. The nodes reacted, sending pulses of light that extended into new paths. Some barriers appeared unexpectedly, forcing drones to reroute. Eli and Mara coordinated their movements, adjusting angles, rotations, and speeds in perfect sync. Hours passed, and the simulation grew more complicated. New nodes appeared with unpredictable behavior. Some emitted pulses that could reset parts of the network if drones touched them incorrectly. Eli's mind raced, analyzing patterns and anticipating changes. Mara adapted simultaneously, suggesting sequences that introduced beauty into the system while keeping it functional. At one point, a sudden wave of shifting barriers threatened to block the drones entirely. Eli's voice rose slightly in concentration. "Quick, rotate the central cluster, merge with the upper nodes." Mara responded instantly, guiding the drones through the complex paths. Their lights intertwined, forming spirals and waves that adapted to the barriers in real time. The labyrinth responded, pulsing brighter, almost like it was alive and impressed by the human ingenuity. "This is incredible," Eli murmured. "Every time it throws a challenge at us, we can turn it into something beautiful." Mara smiled. "That's the human advantage. We don't just solve problems, we create possibilities. We make the unexpected work in our favor." Dr. Saren's calm voice broke through the intensity. "Notice how you're thinking ahead, not just reacting. That is what the Endara value. They want to see planning, collaboration, and imagination. You are demonstrating it perfectly. The simulation introduced a new element, nodes that changed color depending on drone proximity and sequence accuracy. If a drone touched the wrong node, a small section of the network would reset. It required precision, foresight, and split-second decision-making. Eli and Mara realized they had to anticipate not only the network's behavior, but also each drone's position relative to others. Eli took a deep breath. We can do this. Let's divide responsibilities. I'll handle the central nodes and sequences. Mara, focus on the peripheral nodes and rotations. Communicate constantly. Mara nodded. Got it. Let's synchronize our actions. They moved like a single unit. Eli guided drones through the intricate center, adjusting speed and direction with subtle gestures. Mara managed the edges, creating arcs and waves that flowed naturally into Eli's central patterns. Every pulse of light, every shift in the labyrinth, was met with a human response that combined logic, creativity, and adaptability. Hours turned into evening. The network grew in complexity, but Eli and Mara's coordination became almost instinctual. They anticipated shifts, responded to unexpected changes, and added beauty into every move. The drones moved as if alive, weaving patterns that seemed to reflect the flow of human thought itself. Suddenly, a new challenge appeared. A cluster of nodes began moving erratically, almost unpredictably. If the drones didn't react quickly, the network could destabilize. Eli's heart raced. This is it. We have to adjust instantly. Every move counts. Mara's fingers danced over the controls. Focus on the rhythm. Follow the pulses, not just the movement. We can predict the pattern if we think in waves. Eli nodded, guiding the central drones through spirals that matched the pulses. Mara adjusted the peripheral drones, forming arcs and curves that complemented the central motion. The nodes pulsed, shifted, and responded to their movements. Slowly, the erratic cluster began to stabilize, syncing with the rest of the network. Eli let out a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. We did it, we actually did it. Mara smiled, her eyes shining with exhilaration. And we did it together. That's what matters, Doctor. Saren stepped forward, her expression full of pride. Exactly. You've shown the Endara what humans are capable of. Not just problem-solving, but innovation, collaboration, and resilience. You've proven that humanity can adapt to complex challenges, think creatively under pressure, and work together in ways no other species can. Eli felt a deep sense of pride, not for himself, but for humanity. They hadn't just completed a simulation. They had demonstrated the essence of what made humans unique. Creativity, intelligence, and collaboration had triumphed over a challenge designed to test them to the limit. The final phase of the simulation began to fade, leaving behind a glowing network of light that pulsed softly in the room. Eli and Mara stepped back, exhausted but exhilarated. The drones returned to their stations, lights dimming as they recharged. Mara turned to Eli, her voice quiet. We did more than just solve the challenge. We showed who we are, and the Endara will notice. Eli smiled, feeling the truth of her words. Yeah, we did, and somehow I feel like humanity has just taken another step forward. Doctor. Saren looked at them both, her expression warm. Remember this feeling. Challenges will come. The Endara will continue to test humanity in ways we cannot predict. But each time, remember that ingenuity, adaptability, and heart are our greatest strengths. You've shown it today. Never forget it. As night fell over the floating city, Eli and Mara sat together, watching the soft glow of the holographic network fade. The room was quiet, filled with the sense of accomplishment that comes from facing a challenge together and overcoming it. Eli realized that the Endara challenge was more than a test. It was a reminder of what humans could achieve when they worked together, thought creatively, and approached problems with both logic and imagination. Mara leaned against him, smiling softly. Tomorrow will bring more challenges, but I think we're ready. Eli nodded. We are, and whatever comes next, we'll face it together. Dr. Saren's voice came from the doorway one last time before they left the lab. Humans have something no other species does, the ability to see possibilities where others see limits. Keep that in mind, and the universe will always have room for you. Eli felt a surge of confidence. Humanity was capable of so much more than they had ever imagined. And with creativity, collaboration, and courage, there was no challenge too great. He looked at Mara, at the glowing city outside, and realized that the adventure was far from over. But now he knew one thing for certain. Humans could rise to any test, not with force but with ingenuity, heart, and the courage to think beyond limits. The Andara had set a challenge. Humans had met it, and the future was waiting. The morning light spread through the floating city like liquid gold. Eli woke first, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Today was the day they would receive the Andara's final assessment. The past days had tested him and Mara in ways he had never imagined, and each challenge had revealed the power of human ingenuity, creativity, and collaboration. Now, the galaxy would bear witness to what humans could do. Mara stirred beside him, stretching and yawning. You awake? She asked softly, smiling. Yeah, Eli replied. A little nervous, though. Do you think we did enough? Mara's eyes sparkled. We showed them everything humans are capable of. Adaptability, imagination, teamwork, they will see it. Doctor. Saren entered the room, her usual calm demeanor carrying a sense of gravity. The Andara have observed your performance over the past several cycles. Today, they will communicate their evaluation. Remember, humans are judged not only by results but by approach, your creativity, patience, and ingenuity. Eli took a deep breath. So, we don't know what form it will take. No, Dr. Saren said. They communicate in patterns and sequences. You will need to interpret their message, understand the meaning, and respond appropriately. This is the ultimate test of collaboration and intelligence. The holographic table activated, projecting a series of glowing symbols and geometric patterns in midair. Eli leaned closer, his eyes widening. The display was breathtaking, shifting lights, interlocking shapes, and sequences that pulsed in rhythmic harmony. At first glance, it looked like a visual language, a puzzle meant to be decoded. Mara studied it carefully. It's beautiful. But it's complex. We need to understand what they want before we respond. Eli nodded. Agreed. Let's break it down. Look for repetitions, sequences, and relationships. The Andara always reward insight and clarity, not just speed. For the next several hours, they analyzed the display. Each sequence of shapes seemed to correspond to a logical principle, while the patterns themselves conveyed artistic expression. Eli and Mara realized that the Andara were testing both analytical reasoning and human creativity. We need to reply in kind, Eli said. Our response should match their logic but also introduce human originality. We can't just mirror them. We need to innovate. Mara smiled. Exactly. Let's combine structure with something uniquely human. Patterns inspired by Earth, natural forms, life itself. Waves, spirals, branching networks. Eli's mind raced. We can program the drones to project sequences that mirror their patterns but gradually transform into shapes inspired by human concepts, flowers, rivers, constellations, ideas that are meaningful but structured. Dr. Saren observed silently. Excellent approach. Remember, humans have always excelled when combining precision with imagination. That is your advantage. The two began programming the drones. Each one moved into position, lights blinking softly. Eli guided the central sequences, creating arcs and spirals that corresponded to the Andara symbols. Mara controlled the periphery, designing flows that transitioned into recognizable shapes inspired by Earth. Spirals like seashells, branching arcs like tree branches and waves reminiscent of ocean currents. At first, the sequences were unstable. Some drones collided, lights flickered out of sync and patterns misaligned. But Eli and Mara adapted quickly. Adjustments were made in real time, rotations synchronized, speeds altered, and angles corrected. Slowly, the display began to take shape. The logical structure of the Andara sequences remained intact, while human creativity emerged in subtle, harmonious ways. It's working," Mara whispered, watching the patterns unfold. "They'll see what we mean." The Andara response was subtle but clear. The holographic display pulsed brighter, shifting in reaction to the human patterns. Eli and Mara realized the species was evaluating not only the accuracy of their replication, but also the originality and coherence of their innovation. Eli adjusted a cluster of drones to form a spiral that evolved into a constellation-like network. Mara added arcs of light that rippled like ocean waves. The display was alive, balanced between order and creativity. Hours passed, but the rhythm of collaboration never faltered. Each shift in the display was anticipated, each adjustment calculated yet flexible. It was the perfect demonstration of human ingenuity under pressure. Finally, the holographic display began to pulse steadily, emitting a soft, resonant glow. The Andara symbols rearranged themselves into a pattern that seemed to radiate approval. Eli and Mara stepped back, exhausted but exhilarated. Dr. Saren's eyes shone with pride. "They have recognized your effort and ingenuity. Humanity has proven itself capable. Not by force or speed, but by intelligence, creativity, and collaboration. You've shown what humans can achieve when they work together and think beyond limits." Eli felt a rush of pride, not personal pride, but pride for humanity itself. All the trials, the hours of coordination, the challenges of improvisation, it had all been worth it. Humans were more than they had ever been seen to be. Mara turned to him, smiling. "We did it, Eli. We really did it." Eli took her hand, feeling warmth and joy. "We did. And we did it together." Dr. Saren's voice softened. "Remember this moment. Humanity is at the beginning of a new chapter. The Andara will continue to observe, but they will now see us as capable, reliable, and inventive. The galaxy will know that humans are more than impulsive or unpredictable. We are adaptable, creative, and courageous." Eli looked out at the floating city beyond the window, the sun casting golden light across towers and bridges. He realized how small the city had once felt compared to the universe, and yet humans had just made themselves seen and understood on a scale far beyond any city. The drones rested quietly in their stations, their lights dimmed, but Eli knew that their work had a lasting effect. Humanity had communicated in the universal language of creativity and collaboration, and the Andara had recognized it. Mara leaned against him, her eyes reflecting the glow of the city. "It's incredible, isn't it? That we can make a difference just by thinking, creating, and working together." Eli nodded. "Yes, and it makes me proud to be human, not because we're the strongest or fastest, but because we have the ability to imagine, to adapt, and to inspire. That's our real power, Doctor." Saren approached, smiling faintly. "And now, humanity's potential is recognized. Your success today will inspire others, showing that cooperation, creativity, and heart can overcome challenges that seem impossible. That is what the universe needs to see." Eli's thoughts drifted to Earth, to the floating habitats, and to the countless people who had never imagined their species could stand confidently among the stars. And yet, humans had done it, not with weapons or dominance, but with intelligence, teamwork, and imagination. Mara squeezed his hand. "We should celebrate, don't you think?" Eli laughed softly, the tension of the past days finally releasing. "Absolutely. We've earned it. Humanity has earned it." The day passed with quiet reflection. Eli and Mara walked along the edge of the city, feeling the wind from the anti-gravity turbines and watching the floating gardens below. The city hummed softly, alive with the energy of human innovation. Eli realized that the challenges were not over. There would always be new tests, new obstacles, and new frontiers, but humanity had shown what it could do. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, Dr. Saren's words echoed in Eli's mind. Humans have the ability to see possibilities where others see limits. Ingenuity, creativity, and heart are our greatest strengths. He looked at Mara, at the glowing city, and at the stars beyond. The Andara had observed. Humanity had responded. And the future, full of challenges, exploration, and discovery, was waiting. Eli smiled. "The universe is vast," he said softly, "but I think humans are ready for it." Mara leaned close. "Yes, together we can face anything, and the galaxy will see the best of us." Eli nodded, feeling a deep sense of pride, hope, and determination. Humans had risen to the challenge, not with weapons or force, but with imagination, intelligence, and collaboration. They had earned recognition, not just from the Andara, but from the universe itself. And as night fell over the floating city, Eli understood something profound. Humanity's greatest strength was not in what they could destroy, but in what they could create. In a universe full of uncertainty, that was power enough. Together, hand in hand, Eli and Mara watched the stars, ready for whatever came next, confident that humans, clever, imaginative, and courageous, could rise to any challenge and shine among the stars.